Salutations, my lovely fiber artists, and welcome back to Witchery. Episode 2, Two Crafts, Too Cute. I had such a lovely response from everyone on my last video. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you coming to watch me and leaving your comments and your likes. It's really fantastic. Welcome back to my subscribers, and if you're new here, do me a favor, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe at the end of this video if you like it. I hope you stick around. This episode is going to be a little bit different in format. My previous episode was all about my history as a knitter. This is going to be an episode talking about the history of knitting and crochet. I do both crafts, and I was personally interested in where they came from, and I thought some of you might be interested as well. If you aren't into a history lesson, that's okay. I respect that. If you just want to see what the projects I've been working on and the yarn I've been purchasing are, you can go ahead and go to the timestamp below, and that will take you straight to the knitting and crocheting. For those of you who decided to stick around for the history lesson, let's get down to the nitty details. Knitting is believed to go back to ancient Egypt, which just blows my mind. It's so exciting to me. There's examples of knitting as early as 1000 AD. Now, there was some controversy about exactly when knitting was invented because some of the samples that they found turned out to be nail binding, which some of you may be familiar with is a single needle craft that is worked best with shorter strands of yarn. And the very famous Roman socks that have gone around the internet are an example of nail binding. And they were, of course, the classic socks with sandals. Proof of knitted items from 1000 AD, however, include this cotton sock, which is a toe-up with an afterthought heel, which is just so interesting to me that they were very practical with their knitting. The afterthought heel was done so that they could easily replace it when it wore out, so your socks were still good. In the 11th century, knitting was brought to Spain by the Arabs and spread to the rest of the Mediterranean. This is where we get the style of Portuguese knitting from, and that eventually moved through colonialism on into South America as well, so it's very common there. By the 14th century, it had moved to the rest of Europe, and we can see here an example of someone knitting in the round. It was often used to create accessories and religious items. And in the 16th century, the purl stitch was invented in England, so that expanded the different types of fabric that could be made. Here's an example of some English underwear. At this time, you may be asking yourself, what about crochet? Well, the truth is, the history of crochet is shrouded in mystery. No one knows exactly who started it and when it started. Some say it goes back to the 1600s with crocheted lace in France or chain lace in England, but it is agreed upon that it originated most likely from the Chinese embroidery technique known as tambouring, which involves a small hooked needle that goes through a fabric and loops it up in through a chain stitch. For sure, we have examples in the 1700s, towards the end, of French crochet in the air, where they did the similar tambouring stitches, but without the background fabric. Back to the world of knitting. In 1589, William Lee invented the stocking frame, the first knitting machine. And this revolutionized the way knitwear was made. And it shifted it from being a task that was done by everyone in their homes. Not that many people didn't still do it, but it was becoming cheaper to get knitwear from factories than it was to sit and knit in your own home. So the luxury of knitting shifted from being a home industry to being a commercial industry. And knitting became more of a craft and a pastime as we move into the Victorian era. In the 1800s, many bobbin lace designs were converted to crochet, known as Irish crochet, and this became a cottage industry during the Irish famine from 1845 to 1850. And so crochet at that time was done by everyone in the family, and they were really crocheting to survive. It was taught first in convents and then eventually by charities to people so that they could make a living. In 1824, we see the first printed crochet patterns, a Dutch ladies magazine called Penelope, I believe. And crochet took off along with knitting as a ladies' pastime as we move into the Victorian era. Even Queen Victoria crocheted. She famously made 8 scarves for soldiers who served in South Africa. And it was considered a great honor to receive one of these scarves. So that brings us into the modern era, which I figured I would share with you at another time, kind of where knitting and crochet went from there. But I just thought it was very interesting how knitting really has this long history, and crochet is really almost a rather modern craft by comparison. And if you have any insights as to the history of crochet or the history of knitting, I know this was a very brief overview, but I just wanted to share my research with you and what I had learned about the two crafts that I love. So stick with me, and when we come back, I will be sharing my knitting and my crocheting. Alright everybody, school's out, time for fun. I wanted to share with you a very special item that was lurking around in the background of my last video. This is my very own wool witch. She is a knitted doll, which I made. She's actually made out of cotton, but shh, don't tell. I made her without a pattern. I used various knitting techniques I knew, from sock making to design her feet and legs, to sweater making to shape her body, and just basic gloved tubes to make her arms. And then I did look up a tutorial on how to do a knitted ball to make her head. And the hair is actually a wig. It is crocheted, so she's a bi-stitchable witch. And the wig, I will go ahead and link the tutorial for how to make the doll wig, because it was really easy to follow and created this fantastic result. And of course her face is embroidered, and she is my mascot. She's got her little knitting project. I feel like everybody needs a knit witch, just like a kitchen witch, to keep an eye on things. So she's even got a little version of my moon sweater that I was wearing in the last video. So she's a little embodiment of me and my craft. Alright, we can sit right there. Next on the knitting agenda, I've been working on a shawl. So this is a knit in progress. It is absolutely gorgeous. And you can see the striped pattern and the slip stitches. This is the Chrysler shawl by Stephen West and is available on Ravelry. I'm doing it as part of the Grocery Girls knit along for it's going through August, so we're all knitting different patterns by Stephen West. So I chose this one because I've been wanting this Chrysler shawl for ages, so this was a great excuse to knit something for myself. I also wanted to share my sweater is Wool and Honey by Andrea Mori, and I just absolutely love the hexagon design. It's back. I just can't get away from it. It's all over the place. It's on my computer, it's on my clothes, it's on my hats. I absolutely stan it. So that's what I've been knitting. On to crochet. I don't have much finished for crochet, but I do have to share this, and to share it I have to wear it. I'm very excited to announce, for anybody who's been living under a rock, that Seattle has a new NHL team coming next year, and they have announced that we are the Kraken. I'm so excited, if you can't tell. I crocheted this up in about a week, so I was a little heavily focused on it. I absolutely love this hat. It is the Twisted Kraken by Natalie Allen, and it is also available on Ravelry for about $8, I think. It was totally worth it. The pattern was easy to follow, great construction, and it's really easy to modify and personalize, and I really enjoyed crocheting it. It was a good time. So that's all my current projects. Well, not all of them. I have a lot of current projects, but that's all I'm prepared to share today. I did want to share, I'm not taking this off by the way, I'm wearing this for the rest of the video. I did want to share a yarn that I got. This is from, let me get this right, To the Max Yarns, M-A-C-K-S, and it's available on Etsy. This one's Tobacco Rose. And this is an absolutely fantastic indie dyer. They do great work. I also will show, they did the bisexual pride flag yarn that I used for my bisexual socks. And I just absolutely love their work. And they're a fairly new dyer, so they need support. So go check out their store on Etsy and see if there's anything that strikes your fancy. Once again, I want to thank everyone for coming and supporting me last video, and for those of you, again, who didn't see the last video, there was a free pattern linked, so you want to go check that out. That's the Be Kind hat, which blew up, did great numbers on Ravelry. I'm very pleased. A lot of people look like they're going to enjoy knitting it. I can't wait to start seeing people's projects pop up. I'm really looking forward to that. As far as my other projects, I am still looking for test knitters for these hats, which should be floating above my head at this point. So if you are interested in knitting La Petite Fée, Canticum Unicornis, or Totally Metal, please contact me at woolwitcherydesigns@gmail.com. And that address should be here as well. I'm new to this, so hopefully I get all of the tech going the way it's supposed to. That's it, my lovelies. I'm out of stuff for this week. Thanks for coming. I hope you had a good time. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe if you are not subscribed already. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for joining us again. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a magical day.